Hello everyone, it's Aang here and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to take you along with me as I prep and cook a Thanksgiving meal for my family of 3, plus we had 3 last minute guests join in as well. To take away some of the stress, I did a little bit of prep work each day beforehand. I would love for you to join my YouTube family, so don't forget to like and subscribe. Now let's get cooking. The first dish I'm making here in the Instant Pot is collard greens, which happens to be my favorite. I made this about 2 days in advance because it's one of those dishes that you can reheat without really affecting the texture or anything like that. I have some smoked ham hocks that I've cut into smaller pieces so that they can cook faster and they'll need to be fully submerged in the least amount of chicken broth as possible. I set it to cook on high for about 10 minutes. While that is cooking, I've already started to wash and cut the collard greens. My father-in-law actually showed me how to make these greens and gave me the tip that you need to roll the leaves like such to make cutting easier. Also, don't throw away the stems. Slice them on a diagonal and they'll turn out just fine. Go ahead and add the greens into the Instant Pot when your ham hocks have cooked for the 10 minutes. I put the pot back on saute mode to help cook down the greens as I add a handful each time. Now I'm adding some onion powder, garlic powder, chicken bouillon powder, and red pepper flakes. Pressure cook for another 8 minutes and naturally release for 10 minutes. Remove the ham hocks and shred the meat. Discard the bones and fatty parts. Put the ham hock meat back into the pot and give it a mix. Taste and add any additional seasonings to your preference. I made the brine for the turkey a day before cooking it because I wanted to let it sit overnight. This is orange and lemon rind, whole peppercorns, fresh sage, fresh garlic, and salt. I let it simmer for a few minutes, then pouring it into this crock pot. This is the biggest container that I have that would fit the turkey the best and inside my fridge. Then I'm adding a lot of ice cubes to help bring it down to room temperature before I add the turkey in it. A note is to make sure that if you're doing a brine, make sure your turkey doesn't already come pre-brine or injected with any solutions. This particular one I bought from Whole Foods was not. Also make sure to really look for the gizzards pouch. They had this one completely tucked inside the cavity and it was kind of hard to find. I had the frozen turkey thawing in my fridge for about 3 days before brining it. I didn't have a lot of room for it, so I took out one of the drawers in the fridge and let the turkey sit in a pan. Now I'm cutting up some Italian bread to make the stuffing. I'll be drying these in the oven and saving it for the day of to cook. You can definitely make this a day or 2 ahead. This was actually my first time making stuffing and I think it turned out really good. So if you've never made homemade stuffing, I would highly recommend that you do. I baked the bread cubes at 325 degrees until just before it started turning golden and stirred it halfway through. Then let it cool completely before storing it in a container. Right here, I'm just toasting some pecans for the roasted butternut squash and Brussels sprouts. Using the same pan, I've already chopped up mushrooms, celery, onion, and garlic for the stuffing. Dump the vegetables on top of the dry bread and add chopped fresh herbs like rosemary, sage, and parsley. Season it with salt and fresh ground pepper and some chicken broth to help moisten it up. Give it a good toss and pour it into a baking dish. I also added some pieces of butter to the top. Here I am making the cranberry sauce. Do not settle for the canned stuff. This is so easy and the taste is worth the time. In the pot I have some fresh squeezed orange juice from the oranges that I used for the rind in the turkey brine. To it I added 1 cup of sugar and a 12-ounce bag of fresh cranberries. I also made this cranberry sauce the day before when I brined the turkey. It's the day of the feast and I'm about to roast the butternut squash and Brussels sprouts, which already washed and cut up 2 days before. Drizzle it with some olive oil and sprinkle some fresh rosemary and parsley before giving it a good mix. After it's done cooking, I'll sprinkle some cinnamon, add in the toasted pecans and dried cranberries with a drizzle of maple syrup. Also, on the day of, I'm making the mashed potatoes in the Instant Pot. I believe I cooked it on 7 minutes and released the pressure right away. I think mashed potatoes are best the same day it's cooked, so that's why I didn't make it ahead of time. Moving on to the turkey, I've already drained the brine and letting it sit in a colander as I prepare my roasting pan. Make sure you dry the turkey as much as possible with a paper towel. I'm also going to rub it down with some softened butter and add the lemons that I used the brine for in the brine. Next, I'm tying the legs together and adding some broth to the pan to prevent the turkey drippings from burning. And into the oven the turkey goes. I think the hardest part of roasting a turkey is needing to baste it every half hour or so. This 12-pound turkey took about 3 hours. I made sure that the thigh read 165 degrees before pulling the turkey out. And sorry the camera is a bit wobbly here, I had some help from my very excited 8-year-old. Once I pulled out the turkey, I added in the stuffing and butternut squash and Brussels sprouts so that they could cook together. They took about the same amount of time in the oven. For the gravy, I pour the pan drippings into a measuring cup and put it in the freezer for about 30 minutes so that the fat would surface and I could just skim it off. I added some black pepper and chicken bouillon and lots of cornstarch to thicken it up into a gravy. This is what everything looks like in its serving dishes. I think everything turned out really well. I don't have any complaints. I only had to heat up the greens and cranberry sauce from the other day. We're not huge into pie, so I thought I'd save myself and just get them store-bought along with the rolls. I hope that you got some ideas on how to prepare yourself for some of these dishes so you won't have to spend too much time doing it all in one day. I wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.